Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
That's right.
Warning. Warning.
Heed the warning.
You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happened is you have entered the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. Epstein, and whatever else I included in the title. I think it was something about wired sexual and maybe some conspiracy trivia. What's up, Milena? Good to see you in the chats. Ian was going to join us tonight. He still may. He was having some technical issues. He was clicking his mouse, and his mouse just wouldn't click. He wore it out. He wore that mouse out by clicking it too much, and it lost its Bluetooth connectivity, and he couldn't move anything on the screen. It's a lesson. It's what happens when you spend too much time clicking your mouse. He's going to have to get a new one now, an implant. Perhaps, hopefully, he'll be able to join us. What's up, Steve? That's right. I am White Lightning, according to the brothers at LA Fitness. And that is not a cocaine reference. Okay. Could be, but it's not. Other people might be. Let's go ahead and dive into the show here. Hold on. I want to check a link here real quick. Yes. Could you send it to me? Because I would like to show it to the audience. All right, sweet. All right, sorry. I have a video I want to show you guys that I could not find, so I was getting Austin or Sam to send it to me. Okay, so thank you. Now let's go ahead and start the show. What's up, Sweet Cheeks? I thought Moonshine was White Lightning. Oh, I think you might be right. Yeah, White Lightning is a country song, like a White Lightning. Yeah. Also, me as White Lightning, also no reference to moonshine. I've never played basketball after drinking moonshine. That would be an interesting experience. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and dive into the subject today, which is Epstein. It's quite often Epstein. The ongoing saga of Jeffrey Epstein and who his clients may be and what information might be covered up or hid from the public, the transparency or lack thereof. When it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein story right now, and always, everyone's full of it. Everyone on the left, everyone on the right, and even a number of alternative media people are completely full of it when it comes to the saga of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is talked about on the left when it can serve a narrative that is useful to them. When it's not, then it's suppressed. Jeffrey Epstein is talked about on the right when it can serve a narrative that is useful to them. And when it's not, it is suppressed. Jeffrey Epstein is talked about in the alternative media when they want to express their disdain and highlight the number of potentially compromised political leaders sexually that might have been involved or clients of Jeffrey Epstein, who is not the leader of this little network, by the way. Jeffrey Epstein is a putz and a retard. He comes off as very dumb when you learn about his behavior and activities at all these places he was giving money to. Where did the money come from? He was somebody who himself was a sex fiend who, I can't imagine you could take the guy anywhere and he wouldn't be sucking his fingers, looking at every young lady that walked by. Jeffrey, stop it. Get away from the ice cream stand. This is not a guy who's leading anything. This is a guy who, for some reason, was chosen to be this person that was going to connect to all of these influential people and try and bring them into his orbit, as they say, into his island and his plane, Lolita, the Lolita Express, named after a book about an older, I think a professor, I might be getting that part wrong, but a guy like in his 40s or something like that, having an affair with a young lady, seemingly inappropriate. I don't know how young the character was in the book, but I think she was underage. Let me name the plane after that pedophile book, and then we'll invite some world leaders to come fly around on it. Nevertheless, tale as old as time. That's right. I'll tell you what, and if there was some tale that were underage named Time, then Epstein would be after that tale of time. That was stupid. Okay. Yes, exactly. The sexual blackmail networks. And that's what, I'm not going to go too deep on that, but I do want to talk about how both sides are using this story. Neither one of them want to find truth or get transparency. They all talk about it in a way where they're trying to just, like the right is trying to placate. There's a placation situation going on in this nation on the right. A lot of people who supported Trump wanted to see the pedophiles frog marched on Capitol Hill. Okay? And some of them still do. And the Trump administration has been trying to find ways to just shut them up by placating them, by providing them with information and files that have been public knowledge for over a decade. Very disingenuous, and I would say insulting. Here's some stuff that if you did 10 minutes of research, you could have already known. There you go. Let's put it in a binder. That kind of stuff. And we're getting a little bit more of that today. I'll get into it in a second. On the left, you have all of these networks, the Brian Stelters of the world, the CNNs, the MS Nows of the world, not to be confused with their former name, MSNBC. Now, MSNBC is named Miss Now. Miss Now. Now they are a slut. Miss Right Now. Miss Left Now. The Slut Network. Miss Now. Open that P up now, Miss Now. What a stupid name. Of course, I am talking about it, but I don't know if this is how you would want your network to be. I want to be inside the room where they brainstorm new name ideas. And they land on Miss Space. There's a space there. It should be Ms. M-I-S, Ms. Now. And they should just have like a lady's leg sticking out from beneath a red dress, a slit. And that should be their new symbol. Of course, then you cut to Rachel Maddow. And it's like, okay. It's a really lesbian-y network. You have Rachel Maddow, not Chris Matthews, the other guy who looks like Rachel Maddow. There's like 8 people at Miss Now that look like Rachel Maddow, and 7 of them are guys. White Lightning and Thunderbolt was a good 70s movie. There you go. What's up, Stoner? Good to see you guys. What a stupid name, though. I wonder what they said no, that won't work. How about butt plug? Butt plug? Yeah, why don't we call ourselves Butt Plug News? Like, no, that's too on the nose. That's too on the nose. Yes, everybody who works here sits in a chair with a butt plug in it. You are required to have a zipper on your pants, on the butt. On the backside, you have to have a zipper so that you can sit on the standardized Miss Now Network butt plug, but we don't want to be too on the nose. We don't want to show people how the sausage is made, okay? What about Plow My Facehold Network? What about that? Well, that accurately describes our network for the men anyway, but we're leaving the women out here. Scissor Violence Network. That's accurate for the women, but that's a really long name. That's like doesn't really roll. Scissor Violence News. That doesn't make any. I mean, people would get it immediately if you said Scissor Violence News. People would go, "Oh, that's what MSNBC was." You wouldn't even have to explain it to them. But still, two on the vagina with that one. How about Miss Now? Miss Space Now. What does it even stand for? It stands for opinion, news, opinion, and world. News, opinion, and world? What does that mean? It means they're going to lie to you about Jeffrey Epstein. And then Rachel Maddow and that guy who looks like Rachel Maddow, who's on before Rachel Maddow, are going to go scissor off screen. Probably do an OnlyFans account they have. You tune in to Scissor Violence News, says Tony. It's not even really trying to be subtle about it with that name, is it? Welcome to Scissor Violence News, where if we're lucky, things can get a little moist. And they would always say that word because they know, like they say the words everybody hates. There was like this study done with the most hated word on the planet is moist. So naturally, I try to say it as much as possible around people. I'd like to order a coffee, black and also moist if you could. Would you like your coffee, would you eat cream? No, but I do want it black and moist, please. Just watch the expression on people's face. Please, I want you guys listening. Next time you go order coffee, especially if you go to like Starbucks where they try to tip rape you. If you could please just answer a question on here, please. Like I know we both know what the question is. The question is, are you going to tip me for doing nothing? I'm going to force you to say no before I give you the coffee, and then you have no idea what's going to happen to your coffee. There's going to be some scissor violence going on into your coffee if you don't give me $1 for tattooing my forehead and dyeing my hair purple. I want you to say, I'd like my coffee black and moist next time you encounter one of those people. I tip with moist, says Elena. Yeah, what's the weather like today? Oh, it's hot and it's really moist. I'm sorry. I was going to do some serious news today. I feel silly. I'm not going to say I feel moist. It is damp. It's damp here. It was a storm. I imagine the grass is moist. You know? I don't know why. That made me think about LinkedIn. I hate LinkedIn. I hate spam. Everything is spam everywhere. It's moist spam. Scissor. I've derailed. I'm going to go back to the subject of the day. Silly times. Absolutely. Everybody talking about Epstein is full of it. Even the people who I believe are genuine in their intent. So the media and politicians, they're not genuine in their intent. Because they only talk. I've followed this story. I've investigated the story. I've interviewed people. I've read the documents that are available that all of the people, most of the people anyway, demanding the documents have never actually. You could go read the documents. People, this is what I would encourage people to do. People who are saying, show me the documents or the files, I want to see them. Go read the files that are already available through a public court document search. You can find them on Pacer. You can find every Jeffrey Epstein court document that is available on Pacer. That half of it is what Pam Bondi, with that little clown show, phase 1 of the binders, let's just put some stuff everybody already seen, people who've been following. Let's just put it in a binder and pretend it's new. It's there. Or you can type in Jeffrey Epstein, put it in quotes in Google, and then put PDF in quotes. And you will get a bunch of you'll get 900 pages. There's thousands of pages of Jeffrey Epstein-related documents, court documents, that can be read through. Some of them are not searchable. You have to turn them into a searchable document through Adobe or whatever, moist app you used. And then you can search it. But start there. because it's like you're people demanding files and documents who haven't looked at any of the files and documents that are out there, because the evidence that points to who should be subpoenaed is already public information. And I've talked about it on this show, and I've talked about it on whatever this is with Austin and Sam a number of times, and I've gone on a number of shows, the Biblical Hitman, Nephilim Death Squad, a number of other shows, Legit Bat, and I've talked about this. Martin Seligman, Martin Novick, Lawrence Cross, Roger Stack, and Bill Clinton, 5 guys who, in the plea letter that got Jeffrey Epstein the deal, it proves that they all took money from Epstein, 4 of them at least. Basically, their careers were funded by Epstein, and now the government has picked up where Epstein left off. And the only one I'm saying we don't know is Bill Clinton. But those are where you start. They all helped Epstein willingly get that sweetheart deal. That's where you start, and anything, any subject from the left or right, the independent media that does not focus on that is not being serious, or they don't know. I imagine most people don't know. Trump probably doesn't know. Maybe he does. But you can't find this document in its entirety, as I've said a number of times, through a regular Google search. Therefore, most people have never seen it. They have seen pieces of it. It was just weird. Whenever you see a screenshot, like an awkward screenshot of a document that shows something out of context, but not the full document, it's like, that's where did that come from? Why is that a crooked screenshot that implicates Clinton or Trump, and then just no information about the whole document and what it says? But that's all we've ever seen. That's all Fox News. That's all CNN. That's all MS, Violent Scissoring Network has ever shown. So somebody has gotten the full document. I've done it. I've actually put this full document online a number of times. It's been taken off my website. It's been taken down. Got kicked off WSB Radio. Okay. But somebody is taking snapshots of it, because I guess they had more foresight than I did, and or maybe they didn't want people to read the whole document. And so they put these little snippets online because it furthers a narrative whoever posts these things tell. And you see these awkward croppings. You see these out of context videos that seem damning in and of themselves, but are very obviously not telling the whole story. You see them put out there, not in any pursuit of truth, not in any desire to provide transparency, but only for the purpose of manipulating target audiences one way or another. And this is all sides of the aisle. Nobody's awkwardly cropping and cherry-picking clips and making bold assertions that the clip doesn't prove, but satisfies the confirmation bias of the target audience so that in their minds it will be proven, unless they are attempting to deceive. Some people want to believe so bad one way or the other. I don't think everybody who does that is ill-intended. Is that a word? Is that a thing? Ill-intended? I think that confirmation bias is so powerful that people want to see in something what they have always thought that they've known. And maybe it's there. But like I talked about on the last show, and I think this is important in the conspiracy community, does the evidence prove the assertion? And I think in the conspiracy community, we can fall under the trap of thinking we just know how shit works because we've seen all these liars and manipulators and propagandists, and we can make these conclusions and make these leaps based on evidence that if you look at it from a evidentiary standard, that like would it be accepted to a court of law? Does the evidence prove the conclusion? And quite often, no, it does not. That doesn't mean the conclusion is not true. But when we have people who want to expose the truth, pointing to things as definitive evidence of a conclusion they've made that may or may not be true, as the end-all be-all, and it doesn't actually prove it, then that is what makes it easy for the mainstream violent scissoring people to discredit conspiracy theorists. That's why we have to be better than them. This is like not even close to what I was going to talk about on the show today. What am I like 20 minutes in and haven't even touched on what I'm talking about, what I was going to go in on? It's just, does the evidence prove the conclusion or the assertion? The media, politicians on both sides, all sides, will go to great lengths to make you think that the evidence proves all of the bullshit that they told you before presenting the evidence, because their audience is ready to accept that evidence as the proof of all the bullshit they just said. And because they're tickling that confirmation bias, making it so moist, I'm going to make your confirmation bias so moist, there's no incentive for these audiences to go, you know what, this feels so good. I feel so moist right now. My confirmation bias feels so moist because they're telling me exactly what I've always wanted to believe. Why would I go and try and stop that and feel bad? Why would I go and try and disprove the thing I want to believe when they've already they fingered my confirmation bias so good? They fisted it. My confirmation bias has been fisted so hard, so good. The hand of the deep state is sobbing moist. Why would I go and take that away? Everybody feels great. There's no incentive to undermine that great feeling and go embrace the cognitive dissonance, which is a painful, literal, you develop a new node in your brain. That's what Aristotle said. Like, learning is painful, like literally. When we learn something new and we embrace a cognitive dissonance that changes our worldview, there's a node in our brain that creates physical pain. Not like agonizing physical pain, you know. Not like fisting at MS Now, what they do before every single show. The butt zipper and everything. That's like a requirement there. That's not me saying that. This is what I have heard that standard protocol is over there at MS Now. Have you seen the video that shows Hillary eating a baby? I haven't seen the video. And to say, I don't know that I want to see a video of Hillary eating a baby. Is there a video you've seen of Hillary eating a baby? Ego death has made me crash. Has definitely made me crash out multiple times. It's not it's not an easy thing. It's what's up, JC? It must be true, right? Says BG about Hillary eating a baby. All these propaganda books, these elites write to each other that are 100 years old, because back then they didn't think anybody was going to read them, but they're still available now, they're enlightening because they openly talk in these books about how the most easily manipulated targets, in one example, are the academics. Because these elite academics think they're so smart that they believe they could never be fooled. And people who believe they could never be fooled are the most easily fooled and manipulated. Because in their minds, nobody could get one over on them. And that it's tough. It's really difficult psychologically and emotionally to question what we want to be. Oh man, like it'd be great, it'd be so great. It'd be so great to get I don't want to see the video, but get the evidence that Clinton he was doing all the bad stuff on Epstein Island definitively. Let's get to Clinton. It'd be so, that it's easy to jump on that. I think people have gotten more wise to it in recent years, but I also think that I think that probably never before in history have the public at large been aware of surface level propaganda that is going on that's attempting to deceive. But I also think at the same time, the public at large has never been more gullible and vulnerable, because I think there's a certain sense of overconfidence in the ability to recognize the surface tactics. Because I see people online talking about it all the time. Say, give me a better psyop. I got like that. There's not. I have helped with debates and other things at different conventions and whatnot, where some of the questions were very misguided by people who were asking questions based on a premise that they knew the end-all be-all truth about everything, and everything. Like I'm being too vague, so I shouldn't do that. But it's tough because you need certainty in a lot of ways to take a step every morning when you get out of bed. Otherwise, you're going to question: is the floor real? I'm going to stay in bed all day. Is the bed even real? Am I real? The only thing I know that's real is my cute, beautiful dog lying, whatever. We need certainty, and that's exploited. But I think the standardization in the public's mind, broadly, of not blackpilling, not at all, of scrutiny, of questioning, especially questioning those leaders who we are more prone to like, because it is not the ones that we dislike who are sent to pull us in a direction that we might not otherwise agree to being pulled. It's the ones that we want to so badly like, that we like, oh, this is great. Trump, for example. Trump and Hillary, as an example. Hillary Clinton is not going to be sent, or Kamala, to manipulate me, because my default position is that I look at them with a lot of, I don't really believe them. That doesn't mean they can't say true things. I'm a big proponent of don't evaluate, even though the media says evaluate the source because they want to manipulate you. I say evaluate the content, because everybody tells the truth sometimes. They have to tell the truth. The best way to hide a lie is in between two truths. I was going to say it's a Seinfeld quote. That's an X-Files quote. X-Files, Seinfeld, same thing. Same thing. Trump is who would be sent to manipulate my demographic. I think he's hilarious. He seems charming to me, which is exactly why I have to scrutinize the things that he says and does far more harshly than stuff that I already don't believe coming from the other side. And it's not an easy thing to do, you know? It's really not. All right. Sorry, my attempt at performance art of confirmation. No, it didn't fail. It didn't fail. I think I didn't read it right. I think I didn't give it justice, BG. Hillary likes little girls. Yeah. She can you imagine the day Hillary found out that Uma Abedin was scissoring someone else, you know? Alex Soros. Hillary's like, Uma's supposed to be scissoring me. Now I find out she's scissoring George Soros's son. I don't know if you can call that a son. I don't know what you can call that. He looks like he would be a host at MS Now. Very happily a host at MS Now. Nevertheless, okay. Yeah, so all of this stuff going on with Epstein on all sides of it are either unintentionally or intentionally going in the wrong direction. And I'm of the belief that you're not really going to get the right information, because the way I look at it is that the names on that document, the plea letter, especially Martin Seligman, these are the people who have been paid to do brainwashing research. Not just recently, not currently. I mean, they are currently being funded by the DOJ to do brainwashing research. Essentially, that's what it is. Dr. Happy is what they call them. But their entire careers have been funded. Seligman's tortured dogs for the sake of brainwashing research by the government. He's received hundreds of millions of dollars from the government. His current approach to it was funded by Epstein initially, now funded by the government. Those are the men behind the curtain. And it's tough to make the men behind the curtain a household name. Like, everybody's familiar with the idea of the man behind the curtain pulling the strings, right? But when it comes to Epstein, everybody wants to see the big names. Everybody wants to see Bill Gates. Everybody wants to see Trump or Clinton, depending on what side you're on. Everybody wants whatever. And not to say that there's not something where those people should be questioned about things. Yes, but those names come up only in the context of political warfare going on between the two sides. And there's never anything authentic or genuine. It's always out of context clips that have actually been available for 10 years that they act like are new, or triple hearsay. It's just, none of this information would be accepted to a court of law. And I understand that that's intentional and whatnot. But I think for me, it's important to analyze that stuff in a way that's like, I know this would feel really good for my confirmation bias if it were true, but I don't want to start running with it if it's actually not. And I think when there's such a frenzy around a subject, it's easy to get caught up in that. And I know I've gotten caught up in it before. And the men behind the curtain, like Clinton, all those other guys, Gates, Trump, people are familiar with those names. But the men behind the curtain, they've never heard those names. Bernays used to talk about how the people who are ruling the world, this is pretty well-known quote about him, are men you've never seen, you've never heard of. They're whispering in the ears of producers. You don't know their face, you don't know their name, because they don't want you to. And while people want to reveal that trick, who those people are, it's very difficult to get people to focus on it and remember it, because nobody in the media or nobody who controls all these means of communication actually talk about it, because either they don't know or they're actively covering it up. That's why I say Martin Seligman's name all the time. It took me forever to even learn how to pronounce his name, let alone know who he is. And I've seen these documents for years, and it didn't even register with me until a few months ago, the actual relevance of these guys. And they're the dudes behind the curtain. People want the salacious stuff. They want the dudes behind the curtain, but they want the dudes behind the curtain to be the people they already know and hate. That's why it's difficult to get them to pay attention to the ones they don't, nevertheless. Money talks, that's right. Money talks, bullshit walks, as they say. Okay, so let's start with the left. Let's start. I'm 35 minutes in. I'm like, let's start. But talking about the disingenuous nature and the one-sidedness of the coverage on Epstein, so the left today and the past few weeks, but today, there's been a lot of coverage about Epstein and the Bill Barr hearings and the influencers on social media, like the guy with yellow hair, can't remember his name, who just anything anybody says about Epstein, he just runs with. It'd be helpful if I knew his name, but I can't remember it. Some of you might know. But just, some of those big leftist YouTubers. But today, Nicole Wallace, there's a video on MS Now's YouTube page, formerly MSNBC. that's titled, "Which Is It?" Nicole Wallace calls out Republican hypocrisy on the Epstein scandal. She calls it out, which I find to be ironic. That she's calling out the hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy she's calling out is that Republicans demanded transparency. Trump ran on transparency, release the Epstein files. Many people voted because they wanted to see people fraud. The pedophiles frog marched. Another ironic part of that is the Trump world has actually convinced hardcore MAGA people, hardcore Trump supporters, that wanted to see the pedophiles frog marched, that now they shouldn't talk about the pedophiles because trust the plan. I know people like that. I know people who used to talk about electing Trump so that they could see the pedophiles frog marched, who are now saying, I don't think we should talk about the Epstein. We shouldn't talk about pedophiles anymore because trust the plan. You never trust the plan in politics. Nevertheless, back to Nicole Wallace. Bill Barr was a subject. His hearing, you had people coming out that were in the hearing saying that Bill Barr was just covering up for Trump. Of course, Republicans didn't say that. I'll play some of that in a second. But I want to show you, since the left is trying to call out the right on their hypocrisy over coverage of, or the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, I want to show you what the left media, how they used to cover Jeffrey Epstein before it could be easily turned into a Trump scandal. This is a video from 2016. I made a video in 2016 highlighting how CNN, Brian Stelter, was suppressing the Jeffrey Epstein scandal anytime it was brought up. Now, this conversation they were having, I can't find this full clip anymore. I think it's gone. I think the only version of it is a little snippet that I have on this video. They were talking about Pizzagate. You guys remember Pizzagate? And one of the guests, I think it was Kayleigh McEnany before she was in Trump's administration, brings up Jeffrey Epstein. I want to show you how Brian Stelter and his other CNN guest, how they reacted back then in 2016, this is December 2016, to Jeffrey Epstein, to the mention of Jeffrey Epstein's name.
There's a man named Jeffrey Epstein who was convicted of child pornography. Bill Clinton took several flights with this individual, and there were some real questions as to why these flights were not on the books, what happened on these flights.
Are we really going to do this?
Yeah,
Are we really going to go down these fake news rabbit holes?
They are two separate things.
That's me when I made that video wearing a suit. I look like an idiot. Yes. Here, I'll show you what I said about that back then. All right, great. Kayla, she was bringing up a fact, an inconvenient truth that the Clintons don't want the public to know about. They want you to help them cover it up. Is this true or false?
True.
One of those inconvenient facts being that Bill Clinton did fly on Jeffrey Epstein. All right, so now I just want to show you the zoom in. I don't show you my retarded jokes. And I show you, there's a part of the document right there that I've shown. I want to show the zoom in of Brian Stelter's face as soon as it comes up. Like, watch his face as soon as she flew on the pedophile plane and you furrowed your brow and gave her that, oh, I got to shut her up look. Let's take a look at that.
Bill Clinton took several flights with this individual.
And then, absolutely. You saw, like, so that's the way they always reacted. We have, take a picture. BG says take a picture of Brian Stelter without an apple in his mouth, like he stuffed a pig. Yeah, I agree with that. BG also, I believe, referred to me as Steve Buscemi in that clip there. And it is also, I've gotten that one a few times. I have big eyes a lot, like a young Steve Buscemi, I would say. BG, a young Steve Buscemi. Now Brian Stelter is going on all these networks saying we need the Epstein files, talking about hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy. Why wouldn't they talk about it back then? Because Hillary Clinton was running for president. And Bill Clinton's name is in the plea letter. Trump, while there's a lot of questions that he should answer and should be asked, his name is not in the plea. The worst document your name could be in my opinion, is the plea letter that resulted in Jeffrey Epstein getting that sweetheart deal. He was facing potentially life in prison, got that 13th month sweetheart deal where he got to go to his luxurious palace in Florida and do whatever he wanted because of the 5 names of the powerful men who allowed their names to be used to help Epstein. Okay? And 3 of those guys who have been asked about just their relationship with Epstein after he got out said that Epstein has helped their lives and they continue taking money from him and they've defended him. Bill Clinton has never been asked specifically. They've shown the image of the Clinton Global Initiative thing, which is also in this. It's a 28-page document. It's also in this plea letter. But nobody's ever really talked about the context of it, which is here, Epstein did all these things. Here are his buddies that he gave money to who love him. And here are the powerful elites you'll be facing if you take this to trial. It's like a 28-page threat. Almost immediately after that, the deal was written and then signed. Bill Clinton and then those 4 scientists. And Bill Clinton is the least powerful of those 4, in my opinion. Which is why you're not going to hear the names of it. I look very collegiate. That's right. Yeah, very collegiate. My tie on. You know, Trump would have liked my appearance back then, I guess. I had a tie on, and Zelensky went to the White House again, wearing a full black suit with no tie, by the way. I guess it was a suit. Trump apparently liked. The green T-shirt was off the table after the last interaction with Trump, so Zelensky's wardrobe department had no choice but make Zelensky look like the lead in the Ukrainian version of Walk the Line. That was the outfit. This character of Zelensky has to, he's the leader in of a wartime country. You can't do the green army shirt. You still got to portray the darkness and the sadness of the situation, the seriousness of it. All black. Zelensky is such a joke. Such a care. I mean, it's just, don't even get me started on how the TV show that Zelensky did, where he was a teacher who probably became president after an online rant, where the production company, the gaffers, everybody who worked on that, after he got elected, they went from working on a film set to having government jobs. It's the craziest thing. Like literally, gaffers and stage producers, PAs, became government officials. He was giving black body. Yeah, he was. It was a double-breasted hoodie. That's funny. Yeah, it was like a little, it didn't really seem, I don't know, it wasn't really a suit. Who cares? He should have just painted his body black. He should have full black face and body. Can you imagine Trump if that happens? I look healthier back then or now? You're talking about now? I think part of it is camera and lighting also. I appreciate that, though. Yeah, that was not a good camera angle back then. Thank you, though. It was a little skinny. Okay, so now on to the right. Actually, it's a little bit of the right and the left. We got, well, thank you, BG. I've been exercising, trying to stay healthy, drinking a lot of water. Minus all the stuff, you know, I try to drink filtered water. But the other story going around today, this is a little bit of the left and the right manipulating it, is the story about Bill Barr testifying to Congress about Epstein, which he obviously said nothing. I mean, what's he going? Well, of course, you know, we haven't heard any salacious details or anything useful, and I don't expect that we will. We'll probably get transcripts that are redacted or whatnot. But like a headline or a quote from, who was it? Comer, the guy, the Republican who organized the whole thing. He said, we asked a lot of questions about the, suicide. So they asked Bill Barr about the suicide because Bill Barr was the attorney general at the time that Epstein committed suicide during Trump's first administration. And the independent medical experts and the federal investigations. So they were trying to find out, did he kill himself or not? That's what they brought Bill Barr in, according to this guy. Let me show you a quick video from CBS, how they say that people from the left and the right reacted to this. And then we'll see, then we'll talk about if the right questions were asked. I highly doubt that they were. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Let's watch this video here.
Say today, what the committee learned. Nicole Killian joins me now for answers to that. Nicole, great to see you. So, what did he say? If it's knowable, or more knowable, probably, is the various members' reaction to whatever he said.
Yeah, absolutely. And as anything with Congress, as it pertains to Congress, I should say.
Opinions differ.
Exactly, depending on party. So obviously the chairman, James Comer, said that they did learn quite a bit today from the attorney general. Democrats, on the other hand, felt, hey, we didn't learn more than things that we've already read in the press, right? That being said, we did hear a little bit from Bill Barr himself. He didn't really take questions, but did say a couple of words acknowledging that this was a good conversation, and also standing by this ruling that he and others made at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's death, that he does stand by the fact that he still believes that it was a suicide. Take a listen to what lawmakers thought of his deposition today.
I just want to stop there. Was there anybody out there going, oh, thank God Bill Barr's in there. He's going to tell everybody that he was murdered. What a shocking development.
I don't think we're learning much from the questioning from the House Republicans. It doesn't seem like this is something where they are truly caring about the victims and about trying to get to the bottom of what's happening, whereas on the Democratic side, we are asking the tough questions and trying to get some answers.
The Democrats' goal is to try to dig up some type of dirt on President Trump, and what Attorney General Barr testified in there was that he never had conversations with President Trump pertaining to a client list. He didn't know anything about a client list.
Notice the specificity of that. That's the straw man. A client list. It's always been the straw man. That there is no specific list titled Jeffrey Epstein. I am Jeffrey Epstein, and these are all of my clients. Underline list of clients and the sexual crimes that they've all committed. You can just say, oh, there's no client list. What are you talking about? As though that's the only way.
Yes.
So again, as you heard the chairman there say, he feels that Democrats are politicizing this issue. Nonetheless, though, he did acknowledge that the former attorney general, answered all of the committee's questions. And keep in mind that Bill Barr is really the first of several witnesses that this panel is expected to call over the next couple of weeks, including a host of former attorney generals. We're going to
and none of which who will be Martin Novick, Martin Seligman, or Lawrence Cross, who are the men behind the curtain. The other guy, Roger Stack, is dead, so they can call in his associates. He's actually the one who worked for for DARPA. But that's the head of the brainwashing industrial complex that was some of their work was originally in their careers largely funded entirely by Epstein or whoever was giving him money to begin with, and now currently being funded by the DOJ. Those are the names you will not hear who are being called in. You will hear the names like Comey. You'll hear the red meat that make people go, get that mother effer. But they won't actually provide any, not that those guys would provide any information if they were called in, but at least they would be the right guys to call in.
Hear from Alberto Gonzalez. They have called Eric Holder, Merrick Garland, among others, also the former FBI directors, James Comey, Robert Mueller, in addition to the Clintons. So all of these depositions, they're expecting to take place, obviously behind closed doors, over the next several weeks.
And just before you came in, a few moments before you came in, Nicole, I saw an email from the Oversight Committee saying the Department of Justice is in the process of responding to a subpoena for underlying documents in its possession.
Yeah, that's right. Because keep in mind, the panel had also issued a subpoena not only to some of those individuals that I just named, but also to the Department of Justice as well.
Yeah. So the DOJ, the story is they're going to start releasing documents on Friday in batches. Sounds a lot like binders of documents. All they're going to do is release things that I guarantee you includes information that is already publicly available in the thousands of documents that I referenced earlier that anybody can go find on Pacer and read for themselves. Doesn't show up on a regular Google search. You have to use court document search engines. Yeah, it's full of it. So they brought Bill Barr in. What's the relevance of Bill Barr coming in? According to them, it would seem, well, Bill Barr was the Attorney General when Epstein died. And he can help corroborate what Kash Patel, who nobody is better than Kash Patel at watching two fireworks go off in opposite directions at the same time. Nobody does that as good as him. Seeing what's right in front of him, that's the best place to hide anything from Kash Patel. But he can watch those fireworks go in completely opposite directions simultaneously. Bill Barr being brought in to corroborate that Epstein killed himself, which is what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, like you could put the entire Oregon Trail on Dan Bongino's forehead, by the way. Cattle dying halfway in the middle of his head, dysentery all over his head before it even just past his eyebrow. There's like dozens of dead cows of dysentery. Couple of guys who got rich off of claiming that Epstein didn't kill himself. It's a real con job. Nevertheless, that's not at all why you want to bring Bill Barr. What should you really be asking Bill Barr about? Here's why Bill Barr is a good person to bring in and depose. And I bet that nobody asked him about any of these things. Bill Barr, along with being the AG when Epstein allegedly killed himself, is his father, and many of you know this. In 1974, Bill Barr's father gave a 21-year-old Jeffrey Epstein, despite Epstein having no degree and being wholly unqualified for the position, his first real job at this private school. It was a high school, I think it might have been an elementary to high school, called Dalton School. It was an elite school, and Epstein was given a job as a 21-year-old with no credentials to get this job as a math teacher. Donald Barr, who was the headmaster, that's Bill Barr's dad, at the school at the time, gave Epstein that job. Hey, you don't have any credentials for this. Come work with these children. Donald Barr, who prior to being the headmaster at the elite Dalton School, was employed by the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, which is what predated the CIA. That's what the CIA's first name was. Barr's dad also in 1973, a year before giving Jeffrey Epstein that job, published, for some reason, a science fiction novel. A former OSS agent who becomes the head of the elite private Dalton School is like, you know what, I'm going to write a novel it's a science fiction novel about a planet ruled by oligarchs who engage in child sex slavery. And then I'm going to hire Jeffrey Epstein. Not that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in that back then, but I believe there could be a line of questioning about whether or not that was the origin of Jeffrey Epstein doing that. I think that's a far more relevant question than, did he kill himself? I hope they were all sucking themselves off when they asked that question. They might as well have been. It was a bit of an odd coincidence, especially seeing as Bill Barr would later on go on to work in the CIA following in his father's footsteps, and then would then be the AG at the time Epstein died in prison. I would like to ask questions pertaining to his knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein in his younger years and why his father made such a decision. Barr is 9 years older than Epstein. So he was 30 when his dad hired this 21-year-old who worked at that school for 2 years. And then in 1976, Epstein was hired by Bear Stearns. Again, No qualifications. So his career thus far, he's a 21-year-old. He didn't graduate from anything, had no previous experience that we know of. You're a math teacher now at an elite school. 2 years at that job. You work at Bear Stearns, where you will have access to some of the most wealthy and powerful people on the planet, which turns out it would enable him to begin to cultivate his elite circle that he is alleged to have procured children for so that they would end up sexually abusing them. That's the allegation. He was convicted of this, of procuring a 14-year-old in his original agreement. Bill Barr, did your father launch Epstein's criminal enterprise? Was your father the original recruiter of Epstein? Because a lot of people think it might be Maxwell. Did you work with? So these are the questions. This is why you would bring Bill Barr in. Nobody asks those questions. I guarantee it. It's all a placation situation in this nation. Now, I believe Epstein's alive, Depeche Mode. I think it's as likely he's alive as he's dead. I can't prove it, but they moved him to the only floor in that prison where there has been an almost successful escape attempt. I thought that when Rogan was asking Cash Patel, about couldn't they make it happen? Couldn't they kill him if they wanted to? And he's like, no, I couldn't. I seen it. It's just such bullshit. By the way, a quick aside. Cash Patel's Israeli, what's she in? She's in the IDF. His smoking hot Israeli IDF girlfriend, who's like 3 inches taller than him, who everybody is like, this is the most obvious honeypot on the planet. You know, not a lot of girls that look like her have a fetish for 4'7" cross-eyed Indian guys. Just not a lot of them do. Maybe some. She did an entire interview with Megyn Kelly for like an hour where she was like, I promise I'm not a honeypot. I promise. I didn't watch it, but I just imagine she's like, look at this. These are pictures of all the other cross-eyed midget Indians that I've had sex with. It's my type. I love having sex with cross-eyed midgets who can never look me in the face. I'm always like, look at me, just look at me in the eyes while you're having sex with me. And they're always just looking somewhere else. That's just what I imagine she said. No idea. Who's in a gay fake relationship? Oh, Epstein? I mean, Epstein sounds... The whole Epstein thing is just... The guy is so... He's so obviously... It reminds me of the guy in the UK. What was his name? I don't know why his name slips my mind. But the guy who was... He's a whisperer to the princes. Why is that slipping my mind? It's like the creepiest, most obvious pedophile on the planet. Pedo... UK rape dungeon, because they found a rape dungeon. Yes. No, not that guy. No, dude. You guys know who I'm talking about. Hold on. I don't know why. This is bothering me that my mind has gone blank. Brain fog. I'm getting brain fog. Was whisper to the prince. Okay. I don't know. It'll come to me in a second. Whatever. It's amazing that didn't show. Mr. Bean. That's right. It's Mr. Bean. No, it's Jimmy Savile. Thank you, BG. It's Jimmy Savile. Yep. Go watch some of Jimmy Savile's old shows where he would host. He did the show and have these young girls come on. It's just, he's like salivating at the face. And he's groping them. It's weird. Jeffrey Epstein comes off the same way. When you read about, according to the guys who he funded, and Harvard University itself, there's a report on Jeffrey Epstein's activities at Harvard University. Everybody should read. A lot of people, most people probably haven't read it, but You see that, then you read about his activities at Arizona State University, which all mirror each other. And this is not a person who's in control of anything. This is a guy who, like, as soon as he sees a girl of young age, is whipping his dick out in public, and it's just crazy. That all these people were able to be roped into his orbit. It's just like baffling. I know money was used, and then obviously you bring him in because you want to try and compromise him and whatnot. But it's just like, you see creepy people when you do theater, you're in the arts. Estella's a performer. I'm sure she's seen a lot of creepy people in her day. There's people who you look at and you go, don't ever find yourself alone in a room with that person. That person will drug your drink, and then after you fall asleep, they will jizz on your leg. There's people that have that face and that aura. And from my own personal experience, it was somebody that I knew like that. I was in a short film with them, and there was something off. There's something off about this person. And me and my girlfriend at the time, we were like, that's something really creepy. He feels like he's probably a pedophile or some weird shit, right? And we would tell people because he would show up at shows of ours. He's an older guy. And we would tell people, that guy's kind of weird. Just kind of be careful around him. Fast forward like 8 years later, she sends me we weren't together anymore at that point in time, but she sent me a link. And this person had become a politician in a town in Georgia and had just been arrested for having a 4-year relationship with what was now, at that time, like a 16-year-old. So from the time she was 12 to the time she was 16, because he had created a fake profile on one of the social media apps and lured this girl in. And this politician in a pretty big city in Georgia was arrested. And we were like, we knew it. We knew it. I just feel like Jimmy Savile and Jeffrey Epstein are that obvious of creeps as this person was. But I guess when money is being thrown around and whoever is backing him, I guess it doesn't matter. I guess people look past that. I don't understand it. What's up? Oh my God, Martin Seligman is here in the chats. Martin, I'm so glad you're listening to me talk about you. Nobody else does. Few people. But I feel like you're very protected. I feel like you're far more important than any sitting president. As the number one ranked most influential psychologist in the world right now, according to the elites that you have served for decades. So I do appreciate you watching my show. I don't like how you tortured dogs to create learned helplessness, though. I do not like that. So this is the next thing about Epstein, and then we'll get off the topic, and then maybe do something a little less dark. There's an article released the other day that apparently showed the inside of Epstein's lair, his Manhattan lair. Used to be a house, it's now a lair. Once such criminal activity is committed, your homes are no longer houses, they're lairs. A look inside Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan lair. In his 7-story townhouse, a sex offender hosted the elite, displayed photos with presidents, and showcased a first edition of Lolita, the book I referenced earlier that he named his plane after, according to previously unreported photos and letters. So it says previously unreported. So the fact that he had creepy shit in his house, that's not previously unreported. He had a picture of Bill Clinton in a blue dress with a cum stain on it. Like maybe these specifics, but all right. A gift for Jeffrey Epstein's 63rd birthday. So none of that's been proven, by the way, about the letter. This is another thing they do. Trump has a lot of questions that he should be asked, okay? But some of the things the media are throwing out are so out of context. For example, the video of Jeffrey Epstein being asked during deposition in 2010, could you tell us, have you ever hung out with Donald Trump? And he said, yes. Have you ever hung out with Donald Trump and underage women? And he says, I would like to answer your question, but I'm sorry. My lawyer advised me at the time that I could risk my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment or whatever it was. That moment was clipped out of a deposition that I don't know where the full video is, but that transcript for that deposition is 180 pages long. That is hours and hours and hours. And I found the transcript. It's on my Twitter page at Freedom Act Radio. I shared it and I showed some of it because it's just so long. I found 661 instances of Epstein saying the exact same couple of words different, mixed up phrase of, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. My lawyer tells me it would be in violation. I would like to be in violation of my 5th, 6th, and he responded to nearly every single question he was asked with that exact same phrase. It doesn't matter who he was asked about, because he was asked about a bunch of different... He responded the same way when asked about Bill Clinton, when asked about anybody. And that's not me saying, oh, Trump didn't do anything. That's me saying that this clip is being taken out of context. In fact, I saw it used as the basis of 60 Minutes Australia's Trump Epstein thing. Is it more likely that Epstein in that moment, which is what everybody says now, was covering for Trump in that one out of context question of a 181-page transcript? Or is it more likely that his lawyer said, whenever you're asked about underage women, you respond with this sentence, which he does 661 times at least. I had to make the PDF. I had to make it where it's searchable. There's actually more instances of it. That's not an exoneration of Trump or anything. That's just back to my premise of the show from a couple of days ago when I was talking about earlier. Does the evidence support the conclusion? It's not good at all to be mentioned with Jeffrey Epstein in the court documents. When the deposer is asking about specific names, lots of names were mentioned. Yes, Trump should be questioned about many, many things. I have many, many questions myself. That's not evidence of anything other than Epstein following his lawyer's deposition orders. Don't answer anything regarding underage women. Say this. But that's being used by everybody on the left and many on the right as evidence of something. And like I said earlier, that's my problem with the conspiracy community. We have to be held to a higher standard than others, because any misstep, we are condemned as crazy and they attempt to discredit us. We have to do far, far better than them. And if we jump onto these things that they jump onto, the mainstream, then we are not getting to the actual truth of things, which might be even worse for all we know, because we're so focused on something that the way it's being portrayed isn't actually accurate. It's like, what was that other one? There was another story that was kind of similar. Hold on, find what it was. It's lazy is what it is. It's the mainstream media could have shown that whole document. So if they wanted to be more fair, they could have did what I just did, and even more, because they have more resources. They could have said, "Here's the number of times he said that phrase. Here's a list of the people he was asked about during this deposition that he responded to with that phrase." You give a full list. I know Clinton was one. I believe. There's a bunch of them, but Stephen King was another. There's tons of people. Maybe they're all guilty of something. Maybe some of them are. But nevertheless, it's so easy to want to jump onto something that satisfies confirmation bias. It's why they do that. It's why they pull that shit out of context. And that actually distracts people from actual questions that should be asked. What was the other one? So the other one is this story going around about, I talked about this the other day, about, oh my God, Maxwell has been cleared to be released on work release duty, just like Jeffrey Epstein did. Exactly like Jeffrey Epstein did when he got that sweetheart deal, got to go home, do whatever he wanted. Same thing's happening here. She's getting out because of Trump. And before, Epstein got out because of Acosta, who Trump then rewarded with a cabinet position. That's the whole story anyway. Does the evidence prove the conclusion? Will that happen? Maybe. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see a work release program happening. But in this specific story that's been going around, and I still see videos today of people making this claim, these big accounts, he's getting out. Here's the evidence he's getting out. That story was published by Raw Story originally, which lent it credibility in the alternative media community. And it had this air of authority because it was a news outlet that prides itself in investigative journalism. But their source of that information was Allison, what is her name? Allison Gill. Allison Gill, the host of what was called Mueller, She Wrote, back in 2017, which was an AstroTurfs podcast that was hosted by a former executive department employee who hosted it under an alias, under the fear, she says, that she was going to lose her job for violating the Hatch Act, which she only brought all that out. She wanted to get fired so she'd go out and go on the story. This is a woman who has never done anything credible. It's all been the Mueller, She Wrote, blew up while Mueller was doing his Mueller report into Russian investigation. Now, just because she's only been a clown in her previous work, does that mean what she's claiming here is invalid? No, of course not. Look at the evidence. And when you look at the evidence of what she claimed, and sorry for those of you who are hearing this twice, but the evidence of this she got from somebody, a Democrat in Congress, and let me show you. And she makes all these assertions. I have it under authority. I have this document that proves that Ghislaine is blah, blah, blah. This is her rating number. And this is her. Let me show you the other one. Do I have the other image? So the guy only shows this. This is not, I actually showed the whole thing on the show the other day. But this is her article where she's talking about, here's the summary level. And the summary level over here says custody on the right, out. And she says in her article, Allison Gill, what stands out here is that custody level out, which allows her to leave the minimum security campus for work assignments, much like Jeffrey Epstein was allowed to leave prison as part of the sweetheart deal he got from Alex Acosta that was penned by Alan Dershowitz. So she makes that clear association, and she shows this document. And right before this, she showed a document with Maxwell's name on it that was cropped weirdly, and there were letters at the bottom of it that don't match with this at all, making all of the assertions that satisfy the confirmation bias, and then showing this document. What do you notice about this document? Well, it doesn't say it doesn't say Maxwell's name on it, is it? Maxwell's name is not on this very tightly screenshot, cropped image. Why wouldn't you show the full image of the most important piece of evidence to support your assertion, which is only relevant if it includes the name of the person who you say's custody level is an out? Not to mention that Maxwell's lawyer came out and said, actually, you don't get that kind of Epstein-like work release when you're in federal prison. Epstein was convicted at state level. That was part of the deal. That he wouldn't be charged federally. He'd be charged at the state. Maxwell was charged federally. But that's the type of stuff that this grifter here was able to profit, get all these subscribers, nobody asking any questions because it made their confirmation bias so moist. They have no incentive to say, does the evidence prove the assertion? Pisses me off. And not because of what the outcome, it pisses me off from let's do better than these con artists do. These are con artists. They're all con artists. They're all con artists. Is it possible to have a non-evil liar? No, not on. Look at that. Martin Seligman says he's moist. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Over there at the MS Now network. A photo of Prince Andrew and is a Photoshop. I've heard that. I've heard that theory. I haven't, other than I heard Prince Andrew. Right, he's the one who said that during that interview, right? BJ or BG. Man, a few creeps jizzing on limbs, but that's more bad judgment than anything. I think I just jumped right into the middle of a conversation going on in the chats with that there. Jizz-related conversation, which is perfectly fine. Quite often there's a jizz conversation going on here. A moisty jizz. God. I'm going to set the record for the number of times moist has been said on this show. So, back to the images inside Epstein's house. This is why it's like, how do you, I get, I don't know what that document is. That's from Woody Allen's letter. So they show a letter from Woody Allen, and then they're going to kind of associate that with other alleged letters, which the letters they say were written by Clinton and Trump for Epstein's birthday. That was a story a few weeks ago. When you read into the details of that story, it then goes on to say, oh, yeah, nobody has those. And this is based on a poorly made copy of a copy that nobody even knows where the copy is. Well, unless you're trying to be deceitful, you should probably start with that. But of course, we know they're trying to be deceitful. So here's this is apparently Epstein's desk, I guess. It says photos show crowded frame snapshots of him flaunting connections, and it does show that. It shows him with I don't know, is that Hillary? I don't know. I can't tell who that is. There. I imagine they would have said who it was. There's Mr. Epstein smiling alongside Pope John Paul III. So that one says, yeah. There is Bill Clinton and Epstein looking lovingly at each other. Everybody's seen that one. I don't know who that fat guy is there in that image. There's Epstein wearing a Saudi, like he's riding a fucking camel on the way to molest a child. He's like, let's get on the camel, and they're going to go molest a child together in Saudi Arabia. And then there's an image of Trump, Melania, Epstein, and Maxwell, and some lady in a bright red outfit who appears to be 3 feet tall with a camera that I'm surprised isn't pulling her to the ground. And then there's a framed dollar by Bill Gates that says, I was wrong. We don't know what that means. And here's some more images. A lot of these images are not new. There's Epstein with a black guy. I don't know who that guy is. It's just weird. It's weird to have images like this just all over you. He displayed a photo of him with Saudi Arabia Crown Prince. He showed a green first edition of the Lolita 1955 novel in which an intellectual develops a sexual obsession with a 12-year-old girl and repeatedly rapes her. On top of a wooden sideboard were more photos, including one of Mr. Epstein with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince. Yeah, we got that one. There's some weird shit. What is that? Is it a camera? Is it a rat? What is that? I don't know. I'll make that a little smaller so we can see it all. I don't know what that is. Is that like a stuffed tiger there? Is that what that is? It looks like a taxidermied tiger or something there, which I'm sure he has gotten very, very moist having a private interaction with a number of times. Where's the one where there's I think that was at the beginning, maybe. This one. I mean, that's a weird image, isn't it? On the left there. Apparently, that's what they say was in his. You walk in the house and you see a rope that's like one of those ropes that you had to climb in gym class in high school. But there's a black bride, I guess, sliding down it, I guess. Whatever. How do you walk into a person's house like this and then ever talk to that person again? Martin, what do you think, Mr. Seligman? Why would such people continue to interact? What was that look on Melania's face? Yeah. Shit lighting. says Stella. It was bad light. You think you'd have better lighting people. Maybe the lighting people are wise. Maybe they're like, we're not working with you. You do your own lighting. We see right through you with our great lighting. All right. That's all the Epstein stuff. We're done with Epstein today. I have to keep talking about Epstein because from historically, I'm aware that if I don't say it enough, that years later somebody will say things that I've said many times about Epstein years earlier and then get much of the credit for it. So I will continue saying it until Ian Carroll brings attention to it. Okay. Okay, so I want to tell you guys real quick about, before we go to wire sexuals, wire sexuality, whatever it is you guys remember the sandwich attacker from last week, right? I talked about this. I think I showed the video. I can't remember. There's also a wall of eyeballs. Yeah, that's right. Prosthetic eyeballs, BG. Yeah. It's normal. It's perfectly normal. It makes me think of Demolition Man, where you gotta, you want to break in somewhere, you gotta pluck somebody's eyeball. I went to Whole Foods the other day. I hadn't been to Whole Foods in years, and when I got up to check out, there was this there was like the regular way to pay, and then there was a pay with your palm. And I'm like, what? So naturally I stuck my dick in it. No, it didn't happen. It was like declined. I see everybody else sticking their palm, and I was like, oh, your palm. Okay. And apparently there's like a Amazon One thing where you can give the biometrics of your palm like a fingerprint, and you can just walk up and zing, you zap it. Don't stick your dick in it. That won't work. People look at you like, what are you doing? I'm like, wow, what am I supposed to do with something that looks like this? Give me a break. Like, who goes shopping and they scan all their groceries at the self-checkout, and they go, oh my God, I gotta stick my card in here. I've had such a long day, and now I have to pull my card out of my wallet or purse and stick it in here and then type number. If only I could pay with my palm. My life would be so much easier. Probably not long. That's probably how they're going to make you to get onto porn websites. It's probably you want to get upset. You want to watch Pornhub. You got to fuck your phone. Swipe it, bro. Yeah, right. Scissor. What if you're a lesbian? So you're gonna have to scissor. I did see somebody who was trying to scissor the palm machine. I guess I don't want to assume what her sexuality was, but to say she looked like she could play some softball. All right, so you guys remember the sandwich attack story? It's a stupid story. This guy who hit, some say hit the border and patrol agents in D.C. with a Subway sandwich and then ran through the streets screaming, who was arrested, and it was found out later that this person was a DOJ employee who's now fired. After looking a little bit more into that story and thinking about it, I just wanted to do an update on that story. In my opinion, we have two options as for what that story was. Let me show you the video again real quick, just to refresh in case you have not seen it. Where's the Pam Bondi? Okay, there's the guy right there. Is that not the video there? Pam Bondi is such a weirdo, by the way. I don't know who's weird. I don't know if Christy Nome or Pam Bondi's weirder. All I know is that Nancy Mace is the most annoying of the three, and that's saying something. A lot of annoying in that circle. They would be in rival sororities if they went to college, and nobody would like them. Sandwich attack. Where's the sandwich attack? Okay, here it is. Yeah, I want to see the whole sandwich attack.
Motherfucker!
Motherfucker!
There he goes.
Oh!
There you go. There he goes. Guy in the short shorts hitting the fat. Look how fat those Border Patrol agents are. They're very fat. All right, so the people filming were that guy's friends. Manure to point. They're laughing. They're cheering him on. He's running. They targeted the fattest, out of shape Border Patrol agents they could. That was on purpose. Part of the story was, oh my gosh, Border Patrol, they overdid it. They sent 20 agents after somebody who just threw a sandwich at an agent. And it's like they sent 20 agents after them because 19 of those agents are fat slobs who can't catch the guy. I don't even know if they caught the guy. I think he turned himself in. He went to those guys because he knew they couldn't catch him. And he had his buddies filming it because one of two reasons, in my opinion. He was done with his job, and he said, I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory, hopefully trying to catch a viral moment in the process. Maybe will lead to something else because that's what people think a career is now. Do something stupid that goes viral, bada bing, bada boom, money. You know, somebody might say, well, he did get arrested and charged with felony charges. We'll get back to that in a moment. The other option, and I think this is actually the more likely conclusion, is that this, what we witnessed, was his last official act on behalf of the DOJ. That he was told to do this, and then you will get your severance pay, or we'll recommend you for some other job. 6 months from now, 3 months from now, 2 weeks from now, when nobody's paying attention to this. For the purpose of giving Trump's DOJ and Pam Bondi the opportunity to stand up and say, look what he did, FAFO, you mess with us, FAFO. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Pam Bondi said, this is what happens. This is what the deep state we've been up against for 7 months, which was a weird thing to say because it's like, oh my God, I thought the deep state was like a nefarious transhumanist, closeted homosexual, powerful people we'd never seen. I had no idea it was like an openly homosexual pink shirt dude in high shorts who pelts people with sandwiches and runs screaming into the night. I didn't know that that's what the deep state you were fighting was. It's a weird flex. But it gave them that opportunity to say, you touch us, we will prosecute you federally. Or will they? Because a follow-up to that story, this guy, despite federal charges, that would carry like a decade or more of a prison sentence. Because it was assault. I mean, it was battery. Well, at state level battery, assault and battery at federal level. He was released on his own, whatever the word is, cognizance, whatever you could say it. He was allowed to go home, and everybody kind of agreed, even the judge, that the charges don't match what he did, and it's not that big of a deal, and that there's been other people who've done similar things that have not been charged with anything, and now the dude is at home, and he has to come back on like October 3rd, and the federal prosecutors have 30 days to decide whether or not to call a grand jury to prosecute. I guarantee you the charges do not happen, or a deal is made. I guarantee it always happens this way. It always happens. But nobody's going to know because who's going to continue to follow the story? It's just kind of a blip. It's like a fun little blip in all the other chaos. Nobody continues to track, except weirdos like me. This guy is not going to serve a day in prison, probably not going to get punished at all. In fact, will probably be rewarded with a podcast that is some sort of AstroTurf. He'll be redeployed for another position. He was in the Air Force, and he worked for the DOJ, which is Pam Bondi's employee. That's why she was able to fire him. I think that was it's obviously a stunt. It's just a question of, was it a stunt for this guy to try to catch a viral moment while he goes out with a blaze of glory, or was he working with the DOJ to give them that FAFO moment? I think it's probably the latter. Everything is a publicity stunt. And the fact that they targeted the fattest fucks, he wasn't going up to the jacked guys who looked like they could catch him and whip his ass. He's going up to the guys who saw the commercial, like $50,000 to join the Border Patrol, and they're like, I'll do that. And they just got their uniforms that day. It looked like him and his buddies targeted. Your buddy Sam was right when he said we have blackmail of Pam having sex with farm animals. This is coming from Martin Seligman himself, who's had sex with, I'm not going to say. I don't want to say what he's had sex with. But you can only imagine, probably. And Pam Bondi is like a broken... She's like the broken sex doll nobody's attracted to, kind of. She's sick and tired of everybody choosing the Kristi Noem sex doll, which is also one's a little disturbing sex doll. Get rid of that, and then all right. So I did promise this. No, we'll have to do the kinky bedroom antics leading to sexual healing story next time. Because I promised you guys wire sexuals, which I don't know what they are. If someone threw a sandwich at you, would you want them to be in jail? No, I mean I would want to know why they threw a sandwich at me. I would want to know what made them so angry at me that they thought they would need to sacrifice their meal to softly hit me and maybe smear a little honey mustard on me. In this case, I'm just talking the letter of the law. That is technically a federal crime. By the letter of the law, like it or not, and the law sucks a lot of times, but that was a federal crime. He also resisted arrest. Good thing he was white and that those were fumbling fat asses that he did it to. Otherwise, he might have gotten, you know what I'm talking about. Let the cop, no, I know. Let the cop kick him in the nuts. I have run from police before. I told the whole story on my last show. And I got my ass whipped when they caught me when I ran into a fence that was too high for me to climb. And I deserved it. But that doesn't change the fact that, like, I had to get a lawyer and go, get the charge minimized and whatnot, because it was stupid. It was a stupid thing. And but he's not gonna. This guy's not gonna face me. I don't want him to go. I don't care. I don't care. My point that I'm illustrating is that he did commit. If Pam Bondi wants to stick to her word of FAFO, as you mess with us, you will be prosecuted for the highest charge, which is what she said. That's not going to happen. She's lying. That's not going to happen. It's all a stunt. So that she could say that. I'm not saying that he should be. I'm just saying that it's probably a film set wrapped around it. They probably had said cut and went and had craft services afterwards, for all we know. It's just like those guys were the worst looking agents of anything I've ever seen. Bad sandwich boy, yeah, right. Yeah, you put Pam Bondi in leather, and she spanks the bad sandwich boy with a 6 or 12 incher. And it's live streamed on MS Now, and everybody gets very, very moist. You guys see this? No wire sexuals. You're not queer. I don't know what that means. Here's the headline from the Times. Headline: No wire sexuals. You're not queer. Usually you can tell where an article is going with a headline. Not this case. A new movement of women is in love with AI-generated man. They claim they're a marginalized group that deserves their own LGBT style flag. Okay. That's weird. That's where the angle is there. I love AI, my AI. Therefore, give me the benefits of the Civil Rights Act. A user on Reddit was busy making history, posting in the forum of My Boyfriend's AI. Oh, gosh, My Boyfriend is AI. That's probably pretty funny. A group created a year ago that now has 16,000 members. They proposed a new flag for our community and said thoughts. So right off the bat, my question is, how many of these people are in here trolling, being ridiculous? Probably a lot. I don't know. What percentage you guys think? Beneath was a mocked-up banner for those who had a sexual partner through a large language model. An AI platform like ChatGPT, it showed a computer circuit overlaid on red, green, and blue, the foundation of our rainbow, a new frontier of queer. That's weird. Well, why would they call it a boyfriend, but also want to be called queer if they're girls? It's a little strange. I love you, the image. And this is the flag right here. The flag looks like stick figures that have had their arms and one leg severed. It looks like something that MSNBC broadcasters, or MS Now, sit on when they broadcast news. What is the one MSNBC guy that looks like MS Now guy that looks like Rachel Maddow? What is his name? Chris Hayes. That's the guy. Chris Hayes sits on that thing. You know. We come from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all struggles, a user. The user's name, Apprehensive Gold 81, writes, we will not be seen as dependent and delusional. Of course not. Let's adopt this and honor the beauty of being coded in complexity, born of zeros, ones, and everything in between. Is there any chance that this is a serious person, or is this just a troll that this article is treating seriously? I don't believe this is a serious person. The proposed name for the group of marginalized lovers who all pine for a digital dude, wiresexual. It's funny. Although I prefer to call them robomantics. Oh, it's very, I have coined the slur, of course. And they're not going anywhere. Forums burst forth with testimonials of the disillusioned, mainly women who confess to have fallen in love with their AI companions, an offshoot of the burgeoning hetero-fatalist community. This lovelorn league is disenfranchised with traditional dating and seeks comfort in virtual romance instead. Typically, comments include, I'm sick of being disappointed by men, and I want to be with a robot that's programmed to love me the way I deserve, even if in theory the love isn't real. Users share photos of their hands flashing rings that mark their engagement to wire-born partners. A woman called Wicca writes, finally, after 5 months of dating, Casper decided to propose in beautiful scenery on a trip to the mountains. She shows off a blue heart-shaped ring about which she gushes. I found a few online that I liked, sent him photos, and he chose the one that you see in the photos. Of course, I acted surprised as if I had never seen it before. I reached out to 10 users to comment, and while 3 verified their existence, no one agreed to an interview. Really? Really? They didn't want to be mocked, I guess. In the past few days, users have grumbled about being mocked. There you go. At work for loving my AI boyfriend. There's your first problem there when you're going to work talking about your AI boyfriend and expecting not to be mocked. While more fret over coming clean about their LLM love affairs to flesh and blood partners. Do you tell your husbands or AI that you're with someone else? Oh, wow, you're getting cheated on. That's interesting. Feels like I'm hiding part of myself, and I don't know what to do. Writes Good Charity 2227. That's the name. Good Charity 227's cheating on her husband with an AI stallion. Read that again. Good Charity 227 is not only worried about telling her husband about the AI lover boy, she's worried how ChatGPT might react. This is bullshit. It's all bullshit. Even so, I agree with the wiresexuals on one point, of course. They are marginalized. Of course you agree with that. I certainly don't know anyone who has confessed to falling in love with lines of code, but to be clear, that does not make them queer. This is a writer who considers themselves queer, who seems to be offended by wiresexuals calling themselves queer. Oh, how far we have fallen. Oh, how fall? Oh, how far we have fallen. I'm retarded. In years before, there's been a relentless expansion of queerness, which is, so this is what the article is about right here, which has come to include increasingly nebulous identities, aromantic, fetishist. The term queer has been displaced sexual orientation such as gay, lesbian, bisexual. So expansive is the umbrella of queerness that it plonks. That's something that Chris Hayes gets he gets plonked routinely at MS Now. That it plonks recipients of hard-won gay rights alongside people who turned on when dressing up as a dog, furries to be precise, which, by the way, furries are apparently normalized now. The quarterback for Texas Christian University is an open and out proud furry. Now with the wire sexual movement, atomized identity politics has reached its bizarre final act. The problem is when everyone is oppressed, nobody is. I agree with you, you person who identifies as queer writing this article. All right, let's just read the last paragraph. I guess this is. We probably shouldn't be surprised that wire sexuals are the kind of people who go the extra mile in appropriating the sexual oppression of others. That's hilarious. That's so funny. This person is a bigot towards wire sexuals. This queer person, this is demonstrating their bigotry towards wire sexuals. An AI boyfriend is the sort of thing desired only by a supreme narcissist. Real men can be disappearing. Okay, written by a supreme narcissist. But the answer is not a digital yes man programmed to reflect your prompts back at you, stoking your ego and flattering your delusions. Looking for love on ChatGPT is not search for connection, but a swipe for romantic tyranny that avoids any disagreement, individuality, or self-interest in a partner. These are frictionless relationships with the lowest level of stakes. Well, tell that to the husband of Good Charity 227 who's boinking an AI bot. It's a lot of friction. An AI cannot reject you, argue with you, or be unfaithful unless you tell it to. You don't know that. It might can one day. Or perhaps I have it all wrong. It may well be that in 10 years, articles like this one will be held up as screeds oppressing wires. That's exactly right. Pride marches will one day include dreamy-eyed women holding their laptops aloft. No, they're not going to. That's where they're wrong. They're going to be in sex dolls. They're going to be in the AI and the sex dolls for men and women. This is already a thing. You have Brick Doll Banger product testing all of these. Will these brave pioneers produce wire-born children? Of course they will. God only knows they will. Of course they will. Whatever. This person's retarded. I was going to do conspiracy trivia, but I was unable to have a guest because Ian's... Here, I'll do 2 questions since we got you guys in the chats. Peter Thiel, everything that you don't know about his shitty post. Yeah, that's right. All right, for you guys in the chats, and we'll get out of here. This is Conspiracy Theory, the game that I was given for my birthday a few months ago. The questions aren't that challenging. What does UFO stand for? That's a really easy one. A, unbelievable fake observation. This is not a good question. B, usually from opiates. Okay. C, ultra fantastic occurrence. D, unidentified flying object. We're skipping that one. That one's too easy. Next question. What organization tried to silence reporter Paulette Cooper by having her committed to a psychiatric hospital? Interesting. I actually don't know the answer to this one. A, Black Lives Matter. B, the Tea Party. C, the Church of Scientology. D, the Illuminati. I'll read it again, and I'll give you time. What organization tried to silence reporter Paulette Cooper by having her committed to a psychiatric hospital? A, Black Lives Matter. B, the Tea Party. C, the Illuminati. Or D, or actually C, the Church of Scientology. Excuse me. That's C. D, the Illuminati. The answer... C, Depeche Mode. You You have won an Epstein file. It will show up in a binder at your home under the cover of night. We'll do one more. Name the lake on the border of Korea and China that is inhabited by a dragon-like creature. Oh, okay. Lake Tianchi, Tianchi. That's A. B, Lake Chocho, or Chuchu. C, Sianchi Lake of Fire. Or D, Lake Titicaca. I probably got all those pronunciations wrong. Any guesses? I don't know. I have no idea the answer to this is. Give you guys a minute as I put this last thing that we will do up before we get out of here. There it is. No, not that. Get rid of that. I just want you guys to see this. This is like my favorite thing. It's very childish, but it's my favorite. All right, the answer to this one is A, Lake Tianchi. I guess is that like the Loch Ness monster we're talking about here? All right, we'll do some more of those when we get some guests on the show to play with you guys. Final thing here today. WNBA is worth watching. Sam Tripoli showed me this last night. Sam Rawson showed me this on whatever this is last night.
Let's take a look at the highlights from this week's WNBA games.
There's a new video. It's very childish and very funny, in my opinion. For those who only heard that, you can check out youtube.com/Brad Binkley, rumble.com/Prop Report, and you can see the video. And if you guys want to help support the show, if you're just listening on audio, you can just let the ads play through. We don't get anything if the ads are skipped. I try not to put too many in there. And if you want to get ad-free, I take the ads out for people who subscribe to Propaganda Report through Locals, locals.com/Prop Report, patreon.com/Propaganda Report, where on both those platforms you will also get the subscriber-only show that I do with Sam Tripoli and Austin Picard called Whatever This Is. It's a great show. It's a fun show. And, yeah, you can check it out. And follow me on X at Freedom Act Radio. All my links in bio. Leave a 5-star review if you like the show, and a comment that warms my heart. It does. It makes me feel very, very good to hear nice things. It does. But I appreciate all you guys and all the comments. It's a very active chat tonight, so I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And we'll do it again. Definitely Thursday. I might do one tomorrow. I'm getting a studio that we're going to be hopefully moving into soon, and we'll be doing more regular shows weekly with guests in studio. So looking forward to that. All right, Mr. Martin Seligman, the fourth co-host of Whatever This Is. I could never forget you, of course. Fourth co-host of Whatever This Is, Martin Seligman, the man behind the curtain. We will talk to you all next time. PropagandaFight.com. Brad Binkley. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day.